Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. Today we are moving on 2.2 network architecture. Okay, for this subtopic, the learning outcomes, student must be able to A. Explain types of network architecture that are peer-to-peer and client-server. B. Illustrate types of network architecture based on the given scenario. First of all, we must be able to define what is network architecture. So that, as stated here, the definition of network architecture is network architectures refer to the design of computers, devices and media on the network. It means the location of computers, devices and media. Where is the computers, where is the devices, where is the media should be located in this network architecture. Okay, and there are two types of network architecture. We have a peer-to-peer and client-server. There are two types of network architecture. A, peer-to-peer, and another one is client-server. First of all, we focus on peer-to-peer. What is the definition of peer-to-peer? A network in which each computer, which is called peer, have equal capabilities and responsibilities to share hardware, data or information with other computers on the network. Means that each computer in the network have the equal capabilities and responsibilities, which is they are connected to each other and they have equal capabilities and also the responsibilities among them, among the workstation. And what is the characteristic for peer-to-peer? Each computer stores files on its own storage devices. Okay, so that since they have their own capabilities and also responsibilities, so that each computer will store files on its own storage devices. And this kind of peer-to-peer is suitable for small network only, where high-level security is not necessary. Normally, it is involving only a small network. Okay, and some OS operating systems such as Windows include a peer-to-peer networking utility that allows users to set up a peer-to-peer network. Okay, this is the diagram. The diagram shows the location or the peer-to-peer network. It is involving the devices of there are how many workstation? There are 5 computers here and 1 printer. So this is the design of peer-to-peer. How it look like. Okay, got the footnote and logical connection only to show how they share resources. Okay, so all the computers now is known as a peer, and as stated earlier, which is all the computers, all the workstation, they have their own responsibility, they have the equal responsibilities and also the capabilities, and they will connected to each other. Okay, so the diagram is like this. And now we focus on the advantages and also the disadvantages of this kind network architecture, peer-to-peer. The advantages are one, easy and inexpensive to set up the network, since this peer-to-peer normally it will be used for set up a small network, so it is easy and inexpensive. More reliable because failure of one peer will not affect other peers, because all peers, they have equal capabilities and responsibilities, so that if got the failure of one peer or one workstation or one computer, so it does not affect to the another peers. Okay, all the peers can share their resources to others, since they are connected to each other, so that all the peers can share their resources to others, to the another peers or to the another workstation. But there are a few disadvantages of this kind of network architecture, which is first, lack of security control or other management function, because there is no administrator involved to control or to monitor the network. And data recovery or backup is very difficult, since each computer have to maintain its own backup system. Okay, for this kind network architecture, since all the peers, all the computers have equal responsibilities and also the capabilities, so it's very difficult to do the data recovery or backup, so that each computer have to maintain its own backup system. And there are two types of peer-to-peer network architecture. First, home P2P or peer-to-peer, and another one is internet peer-to-peer. Okay, look at the home peer-to-peer first. A peer-to-peer network that does not require an internet connection and P2P software. Okay, this is for home peer-to-peer. For example, two computers connected via a network cable to transfer file, or a half dozen computers in a small office connected via copper wires. Sometimes it doesn't require an internet connection for this kind of network architecture. But for the internet peer-to-peer, a peer-to-peer network that is set up using an internet connection and peer-to-peer software. For example, example of peer-to-peer software program include Kazaa, LimeWire, BearShare, Morpheus, and Acquisition. And this program connect to a peer-to-peer network such as Utila, which allows the computer to access thousands of other systems on the network. So this is a difference between internet peer-to-peer and house or home peer-to-peer. Okay, for home peer-to-peer or home P2P, it doesn't require an internet connection. But for internet peer-to-peer, internet itself, so it's set up using an internet connection and also the peer-to-peer software. Okay, this is the diagram that show the home P2P and also the internet P2P. Okay, for home, it's just connected among the computers without having the internet connection, whereas for internet P2P, it is involving the internet and also the internet connection. Got the another devices. Okay. Now we are moving on client server. This is the second type of network architecture. If you remember, which is we have two types of network architecture. One is peer-to-peer that we have discussed. And now we are moving on. The second type of network architecture, that is client-server. Okay, so we have a client, we have a server. It's known as a client-server network architecture. So the definition first. What is a client-server? A network in which one or more computers act as a server, one or more computers act as a server, and the other computers called client, and it requests services from the server. So there are two roles here. There are two parts, which is one or more computer act as a server, and the another computers, which is that called a client, and it requests services from the server. They consist of two types of computers called server and client. Okay, so there are two types of computer, which is one called as a server and the another one is called a client. Okay, and server can be more than one, and client there are many. A server or host, is a computer that controls access to hardware, software, and other resources on the network and provides a centralized storage for programs, data, and information. So that a server or host is a centralized storage. So what is the role of a server? It provides a centralized storage for program data and information to the clients. And what is the role of client? Clients are other computers or devices on the network that rely on the server for its resources. So client, they have no own resources. Okay, so that it must request from server. Okay, and clients now refer to computers or another devices on network. So that clients will rely on 100% to the server for its resources. This is a diagram of client server. Okay, it is different. If you still remember the diagram of peer-to-peer network, which is all the peers are connected to each other and they have equal capabilities and also the responsibilities. It's different to the client server and class because server as a centralized storage and the other workstation or computer which is as a client will request the information, the data from the server. So we can see here this it looks that the server is a centralized storage and got the footnote here, logical connection only, which is to show how they share resources. This is only the logical connection or the logical drawing class to show how they share resources on the network. So that printer, PC1, PC2, PC3, PC4, PC5, and maybe got many got many clients to request the information or the data from the server. So server will serve the information to the client. That are the relationship between client and server. I hope class you can differentiate between these two diagrams, client server and also the peer-to-peer. Okay, now we are going to discuss what is the characteristic of client server network architecture. Okay, characteristic. First, it is efficient for large network which handles sensitive and confidential data. Okay, is efficient or suitable for large network compared to peer-to-peer, which is only cover a small network. Okay. Second, it is require a network administrator to manage the network. Okay, here for a client server, it must have a network administrator to manage everything on the network. Third example of client-server system are automated telemetry or ATM network, email service, for example, Gmail, network printing, www, World Wide Web, or the website in internet, World Wide Web, the website internet, and online social network, for example, Facebook, and many more class for client-server system. And now we are moving on advantages and also disadvantages. For a client server, the advantages are: one, centralized control by the server. So it promotes better security and management of the network. Because it's centralized. By the server. And data backup and recovery is easier since all data is stored in the server. Data backup and recovery is easier because all the sources are only stored in the server. Only got the one storage only. So easy to do the data backup and also the recovery. But there are a few of disadvantages, such as high cost to set up and maintain the network because it is involving another devices for set up the network. Less reliable because too dependent on the server. Failure of server will affect the network. Since this is involving the centralized storage, means that once the server got failure, so it will affect to the entire network because all the clients, all the computers and also the another devices is rely 100% on the server, so it will be breakdown to the whole server, to the whole network once the server got the problem or failure. This is a disadvantages of client server class. And network congestion may occur if too many clients request services from server at the same time. Since this is involving the large network, so that the congestion may occur if too many clients request service from server at the same time. So this is also the disadvantages of client-server network architecture. So here this is a table shows the summarize of the differences between peer-to-peer in terms of definition. It summarizes everything that we have discussed. And what is the definition of peer-to-peer and also client-server? What is the characteristic of peer-to-peer and client-server? Where it is used and also the advantages and disadvantages. Alright, so definition for peer-to-peer, each computer or peer have equal capabilities and responsibilities to share hardware data information with other computer or the network as we discussed. And also client-server definition, one or more computer act as a server and the other computers called client request services from the server. So I hope you can imagine the diagram, how it looks like class for peer-to-peer and client-server. For peer-to-peer, all the peers, all the devices on the network, they are connected to each other. Whereas for a client server, got one server and it's surrounded by many clients. And server will serve the data or information to the client, and client will request the information, data, everything from the server. Characteristic, which is each computer stores files on its own storage devices, whereas for client server, each computer relies on the server for its resources, where it is used peer-to-peer normally is suitable for small network where high level security is not necessary. Compared to client server, it is an efficient for large network which handles sensitive and confidential data. So that for client server, we must have the data administrator to monitor everything, to manage everything for client server network. Okay, advantages, disadvantages. For peer-to-peer, data recovery or backup is very difficult because each computer have to maintain its own backup system. But more reliable because failure of one peer will not affect to other peers compared to client server. Client server, data backup and recovery is easier since all data is stored in the server. But one thing is less reliable because too dependent on the server, so that if the server got the failure, it will affect to the entire network. Okay, and others as we discussed just now for peer-to-peer and also the client server. Okay, this is a question and class. We are given the scenario and we need to illustrate peer-to-peer network architecture. We need to draw, okay, the diagram. Mr. David needs to set up a network in his new office with a minimum cost as he can. The network consists of 4 personal computers and a printer, and the network must allow his 3 staff to share their files and their printer to him among themselves. Based on above scenario, illustrate the most suitable network architecture for his office. Means that this kind of network architecture is peer-to-peer because it is involving only a small network. Okay, because there are only 4 PC, 4 personal computers, and got 1 printer. So it just involving a small network. So that class, okay, we know that peer-to-peer, the devices will connected to each other. So this is the diagram. PC1 got 4 PCs and 1 printer, only 1 printer, right? Okay, so this is the peer-to-peer diagram which is show the which is cover the small network only. Scenario 2. This is the illustrate client-server network architecture. As an IT executive in Tanjung Holdings Sdn Bhd, Mr. Foo need to set up a network for the company's new resource center that consists of 10 personal computers and 2 network printer. And he must make sure that the network promotes better security and management without any cost limitation. Based on above scenario, illustrate the most suitable network architecture to represent his idea for the new company resource center. Okay, so actually what we can see from this question that it is a kind of client server network. Normally we are not given the statement either it is a real client server or peer-to-peer. We need to determine by our own. Okay, so based on the characteristic given in the question, such as promote better security, and then one more is without any cost limitation. So we know that this is a characteristic of client server network. So that now basically we need to draw the client server network architecture, the diagram of client server network architecture. So we imagine the location of the devices involved, but we know that it is involving the server class. Okay, so there are 2 PCs, got 1 server and also got 1 printer in the question. So this is the diagram illustrate for client server network architecture. Got the server as a centralized storage, and it will connect to the another devices as we can see here. Okay. Okay, so today we just focus on 2.2 only, and inshallah for the next class we will be discussing on 2.3 classification of network. Okay class, that's all for today, and inshallah see you in the next class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.